All right. Welcome, everyone. This is Wealth Missions Group, wealth that fuels your life's mission. We're going to get started in just a moment, but I wanted to say that tonight or today is a little different than a lot of webinars you've probably attended. We're not here to hype anything. We're here to have an honest conversation about something that doesn't get talked about enough in the accredited investor world. And that's how to actually turn your high earning income into wealth that works for you when you're not working. My name is Michael Guthrie. I'm here with Maria Marx, and we've been building and operating and protecting capital for over 28 years. And tonight we're going to share exactly what we've built, how we built it, and how that fits in with your financial future. So let's get into it. Simple, secure monthly income backed by real asset. So tonight's title, How Investors Get Amazing Returns with Real Downside Protection. Now that's a bold claim. I know that. And I want you to hold me to it, because if I can't back it up with a clear mechanism and a track record and a structure that actually protects you, then it's just another headline. But by the end of this webinar, you're going to understand exactly what private credit is, why it's used by institutions for decades, and how accredited investors just like you now have access to that same structure through Wealth Mission Group. This is not jargon. This is not a pitch, just a straightforward conversation. So let's start with the problem most high income professionals just like you run into that nobody talks about. Here's something that surprises people when I say it out loud. Most high earners are not wealthy. They have high income. And those are two completely separate things. A physician pulling down $500,000 a year, or a business owner doing 7 figures in revenue, a surgeon that's been practicing for 20 years, on paper, they both look like they've made it. But if you look where their wealth actually sits, it's tied to one thing and one thing only, and that's their ability to show up and work. So what happens when you stop working, or life gets in the way, or you have an accident, or something really bad happens? Your income stops. So what I'm telling you is that's not wealth. That's just a high-paying job. And layered on top of that, you got the tax problem. The more you earn in active income, the harder the IRS hits you. We're talking 35, 37, sometimes 50% effective rate when you factor which state you live in. So the cycle looks like this: earn a lot, pay a lot in taxes, save what's left, put it in a money market or a brokerage account, and hope that it keeps up with inflation. But here's the truth. Most of the time it doesn't. Tonight, I want to show you a different path that doesn't require more work. It's just one that turns what you've already earned into monthly income while you sleep, while you golf, or while you're out enjoying your family. That's the point of Wealth Mission Group. 3 wealth buckets. Before we talk about any specific investment, I want to give you the framework because context matters. We call this the 3 buckets of wealth. And the simplest model I know is thinking about your money strategically. Bucket 1 is your emergency reserve. It's your safety net. 3 to 6 months worth of expenses, fully liquid. This bucket never chases returns. Its only job is to allow you to sleep at night. This doesn't belong to a fund. It belongs in high yield savings account or a money market. Done. Bucket 2, that's your income engine. This is where most investors leave money on the table. This capital isn't needed for emergencies, and it isn't allocated for long-term growth. It's capital that should be generating consistent, predictable monthly income right now, not someday, but now. And that's exactly the bucket WMG Cashflow Fund is built for. Bucket 3 This is your long-term growth. Long-term plays like real estate syndications, apartment buildings, equities, retirement accounts, appreciation-based investments, 5, 7, 10-year horizons. Important, but it doesn't pay you monthly. Most of us build bucket 1 and bucket 3 and completely ignore bucket 2. They have safety money or growth money, but no income money. And there's the gap. That's the hole most high income portfolios are missing. And that's what we're building tonight that fills that exact gap. The real treasure most investors miss. Money market pays 3.5%. WMG Cashflow Fund pays 10% on your $500,000. Let's make that very concrete. Say you have $500,000 sitting in cash. Maybe it's from a business sale, an inheritance, savings, equity in a property, a bonus that you've been sitting on, and it's just sitting in a money market earning you 3.5%. That makes you $17,500 per year. Over 5 years, that's $87,500, while inflation quietly erodes that money, what that money can actually buy. Now flip the scenario. That same $500,000 into the WMG Cashflow Fund at 10% annually, that's $50,000 a year. $4,167 hitting your bank account every single month, and over 5 years, that's $250K in your pocket. Let's sit with that math for just a second. The difference is $162,500 over 5 years on the same 500 grand without doing anything differently except where you place it. Now, I want to be clear, 10% is our target return. It's not a guarantee. And we'll talk about the structure and projections in a moment, but the point stands, idle capital has a cost. And most people don't see it because the cost is invisible. The cost shows up in opportunity lost, not as a line item on your statement. The real treasure, that's the real treasure most investors miss. Why so many investors bury their talents? There's a story I come back to a lot, and you may know it. It's the parable of the talents. A master and his servants with resources, before he leaves on a journey, 2 of them put their resources to work. They multiply what they were giving, and one buries it out of fear in a savings account, or out of caution, or out of waiting for the perfect moment. When the master returns, only one servant hears those words, "Well done, good and faithful servant." I'm not here to memorialize this, but I think about that story every time I talk about a smart, successful person who has $500,000 sitting in cash, waiting for the market to come back, waiting for the right opportunity, waiting until it feels safe. Are you a professional waiter? I only know a few professional waiters, and they work at restaurants. So don't be the professional waiter. And while you wait and your money's not working, it's buried. The investors who build real wealth aren't reckless. They're not gamblers. They're intentional. They understand that capital deployed with discipline into collateralized income-producing assets is how money multiplies. The ones who put it to work understand the multiplication. They seek consistent income, not just someday appreciation. That's mindset. So we're here to help you support your mindset shift tonight. So why private credit? What is private credit? Banks slow down, private credit funds lend, investors receive monthly income. So private credit comes in when the banks slow down and don't want to lend their money. So let's talk about what private credit actually is, because most people have never heard of this mechanism outside of institutional finance circles. Private credit is simply this. Lending that happens outside of traditional banks, backed by real assets, generating predictable monthly income for you, the investor. Here's the mechanism. Banks have always been the primary lenders for real estate operators. Developers, operators buying multifamily properties, businesses needing capital to grow, but banks are heavily regulated. And when the economy tightens, the regulations shift, banks pull back, they slow down approvals, they tighten standards, and they add complexity and delay. But real estate operators don't stop needing capital just because banks slow down. Deals are still moving, projects still need funding, and they need it fast. And that's where private credit funds come in. We step into the gap. We lend capital to qualified borrowers secured by real estate as collateral in first lien position, meaning we're the first in line if anything goes wrong. And the interest payments those borrowers make every month flow directly back to you, our investors, as monthly distributions. Real assets with disciplined underwriting, predictable income, and that's our structure. Process. Here's our process. We source deals, we fund deals, we distribute, and we're liquid, and principal's redeployed. Let me walk you through exactly how that works, step by step, because simplicity is a feature here, not a compromise. Step one, sourcing. We screen borrowers that assess the collateral and only fund deals that meet our standards. We are looking for experienced operators, quality assets, and conservative loan-to-value ratios. Most deals that come across our desk don't make it through. Step two, funding. When a deal passes our underwriting, we deploy capital in first lien position. That means we are the senior secured creditor on that loan. If anything goes wrong, we're the first to made whole. Step three, distribution. Every month, borrowers make their interest payments to us. And every month, we distribute that income directly back to you, our investors, via ACH or wire, and it hits your bank account like clockwork. Step four is liquidity, and that's the most important part. After a 12-month lockup commitment period, investors can access their principal with a 60-day redemption notice. This is not a 5-year lockup. We designed it for people who need optionality without sacrificing a return. So we invest, we lend, the borrower pays monthly, you receive a payment, and you are protected by being in first lien position. That's the cycle. Simple by design, predictable by structure. You may know Maria and I from apartments. We raise money in the apartment space, and now we raise money in the debt space, but we're still doing both because both matter. Now, some of you in this room have invested with us before in multifamily syndications, and if you have, I just want to thank you, genuinely from the bottom of my heart. But I want to be direct about something. This is a completely different structure, built for a different purpose. Apartment syndications are equity deals and are long-term holds. 3 to 7 years typically. Your returns are tied to appreciation, refinance, and an eventual sale. The upside can be significant, but you're waiting. And the income distributions, when they come, can vary month to month depending on operations. The WMG Cashflow Fund is debt. It is not equity. You are not an owner of a building. You're a lender, and that changes everything. There's no significant upside coming, just a structured payment. Your return is contractual based on interest, not market performance. You get a 1099 tax reporting of interest income, not a K-1. There's no depreciation recapture, no complex tax situations. This is simple. You receive monthly distributions, predictable, fixed from the first month. Same team, same discipline, same commitment to protecting your capital, but the structure is built for your income bucket number 2, not your growth bucket number 3. And if you've invested in our apartment deals, you already know how we operate. This is the same rigor applied to the vehicle designed to pay you every single month. So who are we? Let's take a moment to tell the people that are new who you're actually doing business with. Samantha and I did not come from finance. We came from operations. For 28 years, we ran one of the largest independent ATM networks in the country, scaling from one ATM to over 8,800 locations nationwide. That business required precision logistics, vendor relationships, risk management, capital discipline at scale every single day. When we exited that business, we didn't stop operating. We took everything we learned about systems, protecting capital, and what that means to be responsible with other people's money, and we applied that to real estate and private credit. We've been involved in over $2 billion with a B in real estate assets. We've helped investors save millions in taxes, and we built WMG because we saw a real gap in what was accessible to accredited investors outside of the institutional world. And here we are. Here's Maria, and she's going to introduce herself.
Thanks, Mike. I came from the healthcare side. So I used to be an operating room nurse, working long shifts and doing what so many professionals like yourselves do, working hard, saving money, and hoping someday everything would just work out financially. But I realized that income doesn't just create financial freedom, it's created through education and passive income. That journey led me into real estate investing and wealth education. And now my passion is helping other professionals understand how to build wealth with clarity and confidence, especially people who feel overwhelmed, burnt out, or like investing was never really explained to them. So, together, our team combines operational experience and investing discipline, a heart for education and stewardship. That's what really the culture is behind WMG, and committed to helping families create freedom that lasts for generations. So, one of the biggest questions we get is, why does this opportunity exist? Where did it come from? What it is? And the answer is pretty simple. Banks have pulled back. Mike was saying the demand for capital has never stopped, but they've pulled back the reins on how much they're giving. The last few years, the traditional banks have become a lot stricter. The approvals have taken longer, requirements have tightened, and many strong real estate operators simply can't get the speed or flexibility they need from traditional financing anymore. But the important part is the products themselves haven't stopped. The properties still need to be improved. Business plans still need funding, and experienced operators still need access to capital to keep moving forward. And that's why private credit steps in. The private credit fills the gap between what banks are willing to do and what the market still needs. Investors provide capital through the fund, loans are backed by real assets, and in return, investors receive the potential for predictable monthly income. It's important to understand that this is not something brand new. We're not creating a new investment stream. It's not something that we're trying to recreate. It's large institutions, family offices, ultra wealthy individuals have been using private credit for decades because they value consistency. And honestly, that's one of the reasons why we're so passionate about this space now. It's because we believe everyday professionals, just like all of you, deserve access to the same types of income producing investments. So I want to pause for a moment and think beyond just the numbers that you're seeing on the screen and really think about what monthly cash flow could change in your life. Because yes, the math does matter. But for some people, an extra $800 a month could mean covering a car payment or reducing stress. But for others, $2,000 to $4,000 a month could mean working less overtime, traveling more, helping an aging parent, or funding your kid's future. It could mean finally taking the breath that you deserve financially. And many of you, the goal isn't to become flashy, wealthy, it's just that freedom to be present, freedom to stop worrying every time the market moves, freedom to know that your money is producing income even while you sleep. And that's why we built this strategy around monthly cash flow, not just so people could grow wealth someday, but so people could start experiencing the benefits of financial freedom now. One of the saddest things we see is people spending their entire lives building wealth, but never actually getting the time to enjoy life when they're healthy enough to live it. My father in law is a great example of it. He spent his whole life working and saying, I can't wait to be 65 so that I can go on all those trips. And he didn't make it to that day. I really want you to live in the time that you have now and to actually be able to spend time living with your family, your spouse, your kids, the moments that actually matter now. The consistent monthly income helps make that life possible. Whenever we talk about investing, I think it's important to be honest about something. Every investment carries risk. And one of the biggest differences with our team is that we don't ignore it. We don't hide from it, and we talk about it openly. We can build systems around identifying, mitigating, and protecting against it. There are really three major risks we think about in this strategy. The first is borrower risk. It's a possibility that the borrower could default on a loan. The second is liquidity because investor capital is committed during the loan term, and this is not designed to function like a savings account. And the third is market risk, economic cycles, changing interest rates, and the market conditions. So the question becomes, how do we reduce these risks as much as possible? First, loans are backed by real estate collateral. This is a hard asset behind the loan, which is very different from purely speculative investing. Second, we focus heavily on conservative loan to value ratios. We typically loan 65% or lower, and that means that there's a cushion built into each deal structure. And third, there's generally shorter duration loans, which allows flexibility as the market changes over time. Diversification matters. Instead of relying on one single property to one borrower, capital is spread across multiple opportunities to help reduce that risk. And then finally, it's at an institutional level. Servicing and underwriting processes help create structure, accountability, and disciplined oversight. At the end of the day, our goal is simple: to protect your capital first while creating consistent monthly income. Because for us, stewardship matters more than chasing hype or uncertainty risk. What if a loan goes bad? Honestly, I respect this question because it means you're actually thinking about reasonable investor questions. So the reality is there's no investment that is completely risk-free. So instead of pretending problems never happen, we focus on planning for problems before they do. And here's what that process typically looks like. If a payment stops, the servicing team steps in immediately. There are systems, legal protections, and active oversights already built into the structure because these loans are backed by real estate. They are legal rights tied to the collateral. That means the lender can pursue control of the asset through foreclosures and restructuring processes if necessary. From there, the goal becomes protecting investor capital as effectively as possible, whether that means restructuring the loan, working through the issue with the borrower, or selling the underlying asset. That's why we do conservative underwriting, and that's why that matters so much. The reason we focus on lower loan to value ratios is because that cushion creates that built-in process. In many cases, the property values would have to decline significantly before investor capital is impacted. Again, that doesn't eliminate risk entirely, but it's designed to help reduce downside exposure. And that's really the philosophy behind this whole strategy. So we're not chasing reckless returns. I wanted to make that out here. We're focusing on disciplined lending, real asset backing, active management, and protecting it first. So it's very easy here. There's a lot of different properties in the fund. And if one does go bad, it's not going to impact everyone else's investment. So one thing that's important to us at WMG is we don't focus on the opportunity. We focus on who we partner with. And because of the strength of the operator and the lending platform matters just as much as the strategy itself. And that's why we're excited about strategic partners like Vontive. When we evaluate partners, we look for operational discipline, underwriting standards, and consistency, proven exclusion through multiple market cycles. And their track record speaks to that. Over the last several years, they've organized more than 850 million in loans while maintaining a near zero net credit loss history. They've delivered consistent distributions with a no miss investor payment, which is incredibly important in a strategy built around predictable monthly income. Now, of course, past performance never guarantees future results, but we do believe that track record matters, especially in lending. So we do value that. I really love their ability to keep us informed every month, and we do value that. So this is one of our partners. We do really appreciate that. At this point, I want to walk you through the actual structure of WMG's cash flow fund so you can clearly understand how it works. I know Mike showed us this earlier, but this is getting into the numbers. And like I said, minimum investment is $50,000. The target return is 10% annually with distributions paid back monthly. So the goal is not waiting for years to get a big exit. Mike said in apartment syndication, it's creating consistent monthly cash flow along the way. Every dollar invested is backed by real estate collateral through the underlying lending strategy, which is something we believe provides an important layer of protection compared to purely speculative investments. The fund has a 12-month commitment period, which allows capital to stay deployed intentionally and consistency with the lending structure. But honestly, one of the biggest reasons investors trust this structure is because we've tested it ourselves first. Before ever opening this to outside investors, the strategy was validated with our own capital because we wanted to make sure it worked first with our own money before we brought this to you guys. And we wanted to make sure it aligned with our values first. At the end of the day, the goal wasn't to create something flashy or overcomplicated. The goal was to create something with structure and consistency and predictable monthly cash flow. So as we wrap up, I do want to take a moment to go over some important legal and regulatory disclosures because transparency really does matter. This opportunity is available to accredited investors only, and we are required to verify accredited status as part of the investment. If you have questions on whether or not you are accredited, please book a call. I'd love to talk to you about it. This investment is considered liquid during the commitment period. There's a 12-month lockup period, and any redemption requests require notice and available liquidity within the fund. While we focus heavily on conservative underwriting, real estate-backed assets, and the risk mitigation, every investment carries a risk, including the possible loss of principal. Past performance does not guarantee future results. This offering is conducted under Regulation D Rule 506C, which is an example of an SEC requirements. Before making any decision, we always encourage investors to carefully review the offering documents, ask questions, and make sure this investment aligns with their financial goals and risk tolerance. Great. I want to say that one fast. I do want to go back to one of our past investors, Megan, and she said, Michael has been super helpful with my mindset about my finances. He's been very kind and clearly explaining his investment process, as I'm also very happy with the results. Highly recommend it. So I love just hearing what she's saying, and investors don't stay for the hype, they stay for the clarity. So do like that. So I do have some questions, Mike, if you don't mind me asking you some.
Let's go.
So how are the monthly distributions paid?
Once we receive our distribution from Vontive on a monthly basis, we put that money into our system and then automatically ACH or wires out your funds every single month, typically by the 15th of every month.
Okay. What happens if a borrower stops paying?
Vontive goes after that borrower and closes in on them because they have a huge fund. They have over $850 million in originations, as Maria had said earlier. So we're in a pool of investments. They have nearly zero net credit loss. So they haven't really had true significant losses to their fund. They also have a partner in Citibank that's backed them with a line of credit to help them have even more money to lend out. So when there's a loss on one single property, that doesn't affect us because we're pooled in a fund of a bunch of different properties. So while they go after that property, they're still out there growing their business, and they really spend a lot of time on the front end with their due diligence to ensure who their borrower is and their ability to repay on that asset.
Okay. Can I invest through an IRA or retirement account?
Absolutely. And those are some of the best ways to do it. So then when your monthly income comes back in, it goes right back in to your IRA or your retirement account, tax free, until you have to start getting your distributions at a different time. That's in a completely different realm than what we're in today. So we are happy to take cash, retirement accounts, self-directed IRAs. Just let you know, today is middle of the month of May. Any funds coming in, we would need to have them before the second to last day of the month so that we could get them deployed into the June deployment for our allocation that we have from Vontiv. So if you're going to use a self-directed or a retirement account, it is good to get that process started ASAP.
And finally, what made you so passionately want to invest in this?
That's a great question. I needed a vehicle that created monthly income. And I started out by just doing my own personal hard money loans here in Phoenix about 3 years ago. And when one property didn't pay, the guy that helped me get those set up said that was my responsibility. Now I have to chase down the borrower as the investor. I'm chasing down the borrower just to get that money back from that I had lent out. And so when we found Vontiv through a friend that got us in, and that's the only way we got in with it, and we have given them a significant commitment of capital to be part of their group because they typically only take institutional money, which is hundreds of millions of dollars, as you can tell by their $850 million of originations. We wanted something that was secure, larger pool, and focused on making sure that the investors were taken care of on the front end.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
Those
if
were
you're
all of the questions.
awesome. So here's your next steps. If you're looking to invest, we encourage you to scan the QR code on the screen with our Get Started form. Once that's completed, I will give you a call, or Maria will call you, and we'll walk you through the next steps of getting the PPM completed and getting your cash wired in so you can start making a 10% return on your capital. It's great to have money, but it's great to have your money making money. And one thing a gentleman told me when I was on vacation last week in Mexico, he goes, the only thing that works harder than I do is my money. And if you're working to earn the money, your money should be working to earn more. So that way your money has a job, and every dollar you have, this gentleman, he was a Navy SEAL. He said, money creates energy, creates change, creates people to do things. So if your money doesn't have a job, give it one. So I want to thank you all for tuning in, watching our webinar. And if there's anything we could do for you, please reach out. Our number's right below. You can text or email me directly, and happy to get on a call with you and help you with anything you need.